So there's an argument going on in the comments section of one of my videos, and it goes something like this. Well, what he's talking about is obviously capitalism. What he's talking about is more than likely communism. No, what he's saying is definitely socialism. Look, guys, he's talking with his hands. That's mannerism. Couldn't you accomplish that with magnetism? He really sees the world through a cool prism. He's reciting the words to Tool Schism. He obviously thinks modern life is a cruel prison. People seem to steal his videos. That's plagiarism, which, if I'm being honest, is all starting to sound a little bit like absurdism. Which of these isms is the best ism for off-grid living and homesteading-ism? And what is it that I actually believe? Probably isn't going to win me any popularity contests, but hey, let's talk about it. I'm pretty sure that the only way that I can actually get this concept across to you is by telling you a short story.
You a story? Shocker.
I've missed you. It's good to be home. My sophomore year in high school, I found myself desperately, uncontrollably, completely head over heels for a girl. And I would do anything for that girl. I wanted to spend every second that I had with her. So I neglected my schoolwork, did everything I could to get out of my responsibilities at home. And no matter the red flag that was pointed out to me by people who cared, I would fight anyone, even friends, because I would hear no ill spoken of her. Why? Because I was in love. As things often do in stories like this, things took a turn, and she left me for an older boy with a car. I was absolutely crushed, completely heartbroken. I knew this was the end of love for me, and that I would never recover from this kind of heartbreak. And you know, the worst part was when the adults in my life would tell me, well, you're young yet, and you don't even know what love is. Needless to say, people pointing out that I was way too young to be this broken up over a girl didn't help the situation. Mainly because at that age, I lacked the wisdom to even consider the possibility. I knew this was the worst thing that was ever going to happen to me. Now, having exactly 0 friends because I'd either pushed them away, physically fought them over their opinions about my girl, or simply because I didn't want to hear their I told you so's, I slunk back into my isolation at my house, drew the curtains, wrote very bad poetry, and started watching syndicated reruns of Star Trek The Next Generation. There was this episode at the end of season 1 called The Neutral Zone. Basically what happened was a rich fella and some other folks were frozen back in the past and then recovered some 200 or 300 years later by the Enterprise. And this rich guy is arguing with Picard about how he needs to be put in contact with his lawyer. He has much to lose, and so on and so forth. And Picard says this line: a lot has changed since the 20th century. We've eliminated hunger, we've eliminated need, and we've eliminated want. We've grown out of our infancy. That line stuck with me. Although at the time I didn't really fully grasp it, but there was something about having the captain himself telling me about the idea of growing out of it that comforted me. In doing what I do now, I always seem to come back to that line. And if you've been following along, you may even see how that's kind of a theme for my videos. I mean, it's what a homestead is, right? You're setting up a property to help you eliminate your hunger, provide for you what you need, and what you want is just a decision. So when I see countless arguments online about capitalism is better, or communism is better, or socialism is better, I can't help but think back to that line, compare it to the examples of any one of these isms that we have to choose from at the moment, and conclude that in my lifetime, I have seen exactly 0 evidence that any one of these isms has ever eliminated hunger, or eliminated need, or eliminated want. Now, sure, there's been improvements over time, but have those improvements been as a result of those isms, or is it just a function of time that we get better at stuff as we practice? Furthermore, the observable damage that's been done in the name of any one of those systems throughout history is irreconcilable with that goal. Now, there's a lot of people who are way smarter than me who have thought way deeper about this than I have. But it seems to me that the flaw in each one of these systems is people's dependence on that system, which has always resulted in a hierarchy forming to take advantage of that hunger, need, and want to get to the top. And then, once they get there, they're rewarded for maintaining that position rather than bringing everybody else up with them. Then the gap widens between the haves and the have-nots, and we're right back to hunger, need, and want. And this is at least one reason I can see why depending on a government to sort all this stuff out for us is never going to be the answer. When we're kids, we need parents to keep us from filling up on candy before dinner, to insist that we make our beds, and with any luck, hopefully prevent a Lord of the Flies situation. But at some point, we have to grow up, figure out how to take care of ourselves. So what do I believe? I believe we basically still live in houses made of mud and sticks. I believe we're still practicing talking and doing very little of it. I believe our culture in its current form is only a couple of people old and that we're still in our infancy. And what we know and what we think are often confused for being the same thing. I believe that the socioeconomic system that's going to swoop in and solve all of our problems for us is either so old that it's been lost to time or it hasn't been conceived of yet. And that all these isms that we all spend so much time arguing with strangers on the internet about, ruining our relationship with friends and family and people who care about us over. And when the fickle masses leave your ism for the older boy with the car, and you're certain that you will never recover from the heartbreak of, are all just ideas that we are all just desperately, uncontrollably, completely head over heels for. Because we're young yet. And we don't even know what love is. Catch you next time. My FYP is inundated with people who are actively trying to ruin other people's lives because they have different ideas. It's unbelievable. And also people trying to sell me courses on how to get followers. This is how you make an organic video. The plants are organic. This is how you get organic traffic. Buy my course. It's weird.